Hey, this is David Perdue from MyNams.com and the Novice to Advanced Marketing System, and this is our weekly live training. We do this every Wednesday from 2:30 till whenever, and that's 2:30 Central Time. And we are in the Hangout platform these days, not GoToWebinar, which I'm really excited about, and it also is a little bit bleeding edge, so we have some issues occasionally. But we're doing great today. We do have one little issue with Jeff and a little choppiness on his video, but the slides look really great. So we're going to jump over to his slides pretty quickly. But the first thing I want to do is introduce Jeff Hunt. I met Jeff about a year ago in Orlando at, wasn't it Marketing Mayhem, I think is where we met. And right away I realized that Jeff was somebody I wanted to know better. He had exactly the kind of integrity, the kind of value system, the kind of friendship and reliability and integrity that we like to build into the NAMS system with the NAMS attendees and the NAMS instructors. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Jeff as an instructor at the next NAMS or the one after that, because I have a kind of a plan. I haven't talked to you about yet, Jeff, but I have a plan to combine you with somebody else to do a workshop on this topic that you're bringing in today, as well as selling websites on your businesses, selling businesses. So look for that as well. And today, Jeff is going to talk to us about a topic that I know absolutely nothing about, so I'm going to be taking lots of notes, and I'm really excited to hear this. So Jeff Hunt, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
How you doing, David? Nice to be here with you.
I'm doing really well, and you're still in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and my old stomping grounds.
Yeah, well, I followed your instructions carefully and changed my hair color before the hangout.
Good.
Then I even went back a hangout to see if everyone else had been doing that, and sure enough, Jeff Herring was there, same thing. So.
That's right. That's right. We all, if it ain't gray, we ain't doing it. So there you go. So Jeff, why don't you go ahead and bring your slides up and jump in and start telling people a little bit about yourself and about what you're doing going forward. I think the sound is actually better when you bring the slides up too.
Okay. Well, then I'll go ahead and shift over to the slides right now, and that hopefully will be easier on everyone's eyes. Let me go ahead and bring these up. Let me know if you can see that. How does that look? All right, very good. Well, I'll just jump in here, Dave. We're going to talk about the fast and sure way to internet profits today, and you'll see just how fast and sure and why we can make that claim in just a few minutes as we go through this material. Really happy to be here with you. I love the NAMS community, and probably when you first met me and you asked what do, I probably told you I'm a website investor. Do you remember that?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and that's what I tell people, and it always opens their eyes, and they kind of raise an eyebrow and say, well, what's that? And I tell them I buy websites. I try to buy websites that produce passive income. And that's just what I do for a living, what I've done for a couple years. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So in this hangout, one of the first things that we're going to jump into is a case study. I love to show case studies, and it's going to show you how you can find websites that are easy to buy and are profitable. Then we're going to go through a list of items that will help you identify websites that are kind of high profit opportunities. So things that you can see in a website opportunity that would allow you to turn up the profits very quickly after you make a purchase. And in fact, there's going to be 54 of those little items that we go through really quickly. Then I'm going to go through a step-by-step process that explains exactly how you, if you decided you wanted to acquire a website, how you would do that. So is that what you wanted to hear, Dave?
That's it.
All right. Oh, very good. That's what we're going to do. I have owned actually well over 300 income-producing websites. It's actually closer to 500. Many of those were in networks. I just wrote this book, The Website Investor, that's going to be rolled out to stores in probably the spring of next year. in April, and Flippa.com also hired me to write their book, their guide for buyers and sellers on Flippa, and I earn a living buying websites. So that's kind of what I do, and that's what the family gets involved with from time to time. And this is the family. Not so long ago, we moved overseas, and we lived overseas for 7 years after a career in corporate America, ministered to families and students over there. And then when we got back just a few years ago, there was, I had no job, was really unsure about returning to corporate America. Big family, 2 went off to Purdue. I can't remember, David, were you a Purdue or an IU guy?
I'm both. I went to Purdue and they threw me out, and then I went to IU and finished later.
Yeah, well, you might as well have multiple teams you can cheer for. It comes in.
That's
handy.
right.
So when we got back, I didn't know if I could return to corporate America at all, and wasn't sure that I wanted to do that. Kind of got used to working on my own, and so this is what we did. We bought websites, and I was on a weekly training maybe a year or so ago, can't remember exactly, and I told the folks about Google News and the benefits of getting into Google News. And what I may not have mentioned in that call was that my very first Google News site was actually a purchase of mine. I bought into it. And that's what I did when we got back to the States, because I didn't have time to build up traffic and a customer base. I didn't have time to start with just a very small income, a few dollars, and hope that it would eventually grow to be able to support the whole family. And I also didn't have time to design and build sites from scratch, or try to work out a business model that didn't already exist. So I pretty much had to buy into something that could deliver income pretty quickly, and website business are exactly what does that. So,
well, it's I think anybody who listens to this, Jeff, is going to think, oh man, that's going to be expensive.
Yeah, well, they'll think that for only about 20 seconds here, because I don't know if it's the next slide or the one after that, but I'm in the case study. I'm going to show you a little website I bought just a little while ago, and it was really inexpensive. So why don't we move forward to that? In the last several years, I've done a lot of transactions, both in and out, and have developed a reputation just by being ethical, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not such a hard thing to do, but there aren't that many people who do it.
I know.
It's kind of funny. It's one of the things that we teach in our course, is that you need to be ethical, and that your sales will increase dramatically just by doing that. So let's just jump right into the case study, and I want to actually, I think it's rare for marketers to pass out the names of their URLs, but I wanted to be really open about this one, just so people could see an example of a real live site. And I actually bought this site about 9 weeks ago, so this is a real current thing, and I paid $400 for it. The site was established about 4 years ago, so it had a little bit of age, and it had some traffic that had developed. It had revenue, but very, very little revenue, and you see it was $18 a month, and actually minus $2 in profit when you considered expenses. So, it didn't buy it because it was making money. It was earning money from AdSense ads. So this is kind of what it looked like. There had been a little bit more traffic earlier in the year, and the traffic kind of stabilized. And the lady who created the site just wasn't making any money and decided to dump it, and thought, well, $400 is better than minus $2 a month. So after I bought this site, I did 2 small things, and the first one was the ads on the site were over in the sidebar. So I moved the ad out of the sidebar right into the article text, and I knew that would increase the earnings on that ad probably by a factor of 3. Just that one little tweak that takes 2 or 3 minutes if you've never, for me, and maybe if you've never done it before, it might take you 6 or 8 minutes. And then the second thing I did was I added a new ad, because you can have up to 3 Google AdSense ads on a page, and I stuck it in the middle of the article. And then there was already one at the bottom, but I increased the size of it. The other thing that I did on the site was the home page had all the most recent articles, and I changed those to be a static fixed article. And that's all I did, literally. So that, we're talking 10 to 15 minutes of work after I purchased the site. And here's what happened with those two tweaks. The site earned $166 in its first 43 days, and now more time has passed. 2 months have passed, and it earned about $100 each month, actually a little bit more than that. And keep in mind that it had only earned $18 per month on average for the previous 3 months. So this is a really nice example, and of course, not every investment is you're going to get half your money back in only 2 months. But on an annual basis, this will be about a 300% return on the money, and for a $400 investment. Now, some people might think, well, that's $400 that I don't have. But if we were to start building this site from scratch, it would probably take us 12 to 18 months, and we might end up spending $400 along the way for design and themes and content writing and all of that kind of thing.
All right, so I have to ask you a couple of questions here.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
So I clicked on the link that you gave us there, yourcareernursing.com, and two things came up first in my mind. One is it was losing $2 a month. So what made you think it was going to make money?
Well, those two little tweaks that I did, and the first one was the important one for making money, was moving those ads out of the sidebar and then adding an additional ad. When I saw that the ads were placed in the sidebar, I knew immediately that was one money-making opportunity.
Okay. And the second thing is, it's such a simple site. I would have gone right past this site as a money-making opportunity because it was such a simple site.
Yeah, I was interested in this nursing area and a little bit in online education, so that was one thing that drew my attention to it. And then, it was $400. I typically wouldn't buy a site that's only making $20 a month. So if I hadn't just noticed that there was a quick way to improve it, I probably wouldn't have bought in.
And the third thing is, when you mentioned passive income in the beginning, and I love passive income, when you mentioned passive income in the beginning and you said, you put in $400 on this thing, and somebody might mention that it's $400 you don't have, but man, if you get $100 a month for 12 months, that's 3 times your investment, and your investment's 1 time, so that's a massive return on a small amount of money.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And the other thing, of course, is now that site, is now worth a lot more than $400, because if it's earning $100,
because you have a new asset.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, how do websites perform that well? And the simple answer is that digital businesses in general, they don't have physical assets. So the startup cost for a website is much lower than for a traditional business. The ongoing operation costs, for really the same reasons: no facility costs, low cost of labor. You can outsource things to overseas workers at low cost. A lot of times no cost of goods sold, as in traditional businesses, and then just quicker startup time. All those things together mean that digital businesses just perform a lot better financially than standard businesses. The one little nursing site we just looked at is just an example of that. So I wanted to jump in here and just ask this question: what's the difference between a great investor and an okay investor? Now, in this case, actually, the promo email, promo video already had the answer to this question. But I think anybody who's done any investing, or even if you've bought real estate, you know that a great real estate investor is differentiated because they know what to look for. They see the little hidden opportunities in a piece of property, and it's the same thing for a website buyer. He knows where he can make some quick improvements. So this is kind of a fun exercise, and we're just going to spend the next few minutes, and I'm just going to go through and give you a long list of very specific things that you can look for, even if you're not experienced in this, to find opportunities that other people might overlook because they might not be aware of some of these things. And there'll be a replay of this video, so if I go too fast or we skip over something, you'll have it on your screen. All right?
We're ready. Yeah, that's great.
Here we go. We're gonna run right through them, and there's a whole lot of them. So just hang on to your hat. Okay. So in the advertising realm, there many websites get their revenue from advertising. It's passive income, and here are just a few things. Using a low-paying ad network instead of a higher-paying one, like AdSense is one of the higher-paying ones. And so when you see a site that isn't using AdSense, that's an indicator that you might be able to increase the profitability really quickly. Bad placement of ads. I showed you visually what that looks like. Bad sizing of the ads. And people, when they read articles, their eyes move from left to right down the page, and you want their eyes to end up on the ad. So you want to put ads where their eyes will be naturally bouncing against the ad at the end of each sentence and then at the end of the article itself. So that's what we did. A lot of times you'll see very ugly or ineffective colors. You'll see only text ads, no media ads, and you'll see them not using private ad placements, but only the network ad placements. Mobile phones, mobile devices are ubiquitous now, so people aren't using responsive ad units that resize according to the device size. Then they're leaving money on the table. So that's a quick thing you can look for. And I'm just going to kind of skip to the bottom here. Too many distractions. Listen, when people come to your website, you want them to do one of two things. One is to click on something or take some action that earns you money, or number two, stay on your website. So if they're doing anything besides staying on your website or taking some action that earns you money, then that's a bad thing. And so when you find websites, or you're evaluating opportunities where websites are full of distractions and they give lots and lots of links and things that the customer can do, that's a money-making opportunity for you, because you know you can clean that website up and immediately increase the revenue from it.
So it sounds like you're saying the simpler, the more profitable.
Very true, yeah. Many times it is the simple changes that make a big difference, and you'll see some examples of those simple changes as we go through this. Now, I'm not going to talk about every SEO opportunity on this list, but starting at the top, bad title tags, that's really simple to fix. Change the title of pages and articles, and it can make a dramatic improvement. And if you see titles with no keywords, then you add keywords or phrases. If you see meta descriptions, that's the text that shows up on the search page. The title will get you on the search page a lot of times, and the meta description will determine whether someone actually clicks. So improving meta descriptions can make a big difference. And then all kinds of other SEO strategies. And the good thing about SEO is that there's a lot of information available on it. But duplicate content, if they're copying content, plagiarizing it, or conversely, light content, if you find a lot of pages with just a single sentence or two, that's considered light. Those kinds of things are killers SEO-wise, and actually can be good improvement opportunities. In the realm of e-commerce websites, product descriptions that get copied from other manufacturer sites, those are duplicate content. Everybody might be using the same description of the Schwinn bicycle from the Schwinn site instead of typing in their own description. That's an opportunity. Same way with the pictures. Not using sales discounts and coupons, that's basic marketing, and in e-commerce you've got to do that stuff because all your competitors are doing that. Bad user experience, weak guarantee policies, bad customer support, no free shipping. Everybody does free shipping these days. So if there's an e-com site that isn't doing that, that can increase sales really quickly. And then a number of other things like not choosing the best products to put on the more prominent pages. Those are the kinds of things you can look for in the e-commerce area. On affiliate sites, one of the key ones is low converting sales copy. So if you hear from the seller that they're only getting 0.5% or 1% in sales from the people that visit the page, then maybe it's just a matter of tweaking the sales copy or improving the look of the page. Leaks in sales funnel. Probably everyone has heard the phrase sales funnel, but if not, a sales funnel is essentially just a series of offers that we give to customers in sequence. And a leak, so we make an offer, and then if they decide to take us up on that offer, then we make another offer. If they don't decide to take us up on it and say no thank you, then we say, oh, that's fine, but we make another offer, maybe a free offer or a lesser offer. So a leak in a sales funnel is simply failing to make an offer when you could make an offer, whether they've taken you up on your first one or not taking you up on your first one. So leaks in sales funnels can produce, patching those leaks can produce a lot of extra money. So if you're looking at an affiliate site, that's one thing you want to look for. And also how they're using their email list, the kinds of emails that they're sending out, and those kinds of things. Lead generation sites are a little bit like advertising sites because other companies are paying you to advertise, but specifically for a lead, other companies want you to collect more information. They would like to have the contact number of a particular customer who's interested in a kind of a product. I put this picture of Anderson Windows and Doors because home remodeling companies are classic for buying leads and paying a lot of money for those kinds of leads. And there are a lot of other examples of that. Different kinds of contracting companies and many local kinds of companies will buy leads for a lot of money. And so, if you only have one person buying leads for a site, that's a great opportunity. Get more people, more competition, probably get higher prices for each of those leads. Qualifying the leads better, collecting better information, making sure they're real buyers, that's another opportunity in this area.
Okay.
Service sites. I love service sites, and there are many of them, whether it's resume writing, whether it's creating a marketing plan for your customers, signing a PDF document, or doing some physical service and you just use the website to send somebody to do it. Service sites can be non-passive or they can be very passive. But when you find a service site and you see that they have exceptionally low or exceptionally high prices, that can definitely be an opportunity for you. And that's again one of those 1 or 2 minute simple changes where you just go in there and you tweak the price and see what happens.
Okay, so I have to ask you a question about service sites because that's one of the things I would have thought would not have lent itself well to website investing because you think of service sites as being labor intensive and probably focused on 1 or 2 people if they're offering the service if it's a small company. So what am I missing?
Yeah, it's almost as if I prompted you to ask that question, which I didn't. But two things that you could be missing. One is a lot of services are completely automated. Like I saw a site that developed marketing plans for customers, and essentially the site's software led them through a series of questions where they filled in the boxes, and then the software just gave them supporting information for how they should think about the answers, and then generated a report. And it was completely hands-off. And many, you've seen these, there are many kinds of service sites that do something like logo creation or Facebook marketing or all those kinds of things that are physical manual services. But the website investor will find low-cost resources to outsource those things to, and find ways to pass that work off in a very efficient way so that it is not labor intensive for them. There still may be labor going on, but not for them.
Okay.
So those are the kinds of things. And pricing tiers, really important in services. If you find a site that has a single price and a single product, it's really easy to differentiate the product and make a lower end product, a medium kind of product, and a higher end. And the reason you want to do that is because there are categories of customers who always buy at the low end and others who always buy at the high end. And so the more differentiation you have, and it's usually very easy to differentiate that, the more sales you're going to get, even if you don't substantially change your product at all. So
and it's not so much that those people like a person who always buys at the high end, they don't necessarily buy anything unless they can buy the high end. So they might not buy at all unless they see a high end price.
And that's an excellent point. There's several people have told me who buy internet marketing products, like they buy software, and they say they always buy the multi-license, most flexible arrangement. And guess what? How much does it cost you to add a multi-license tier? Nothing. Just you write a license text agreement, and that's it. Yeah. So little things like that you can look for in these website opportunities, and they can make a big difference fast. All right. I just wanted to mention my buddy John Schmidler here. John worked through this whole website buying process, and I bring his slide up here because you saw the case study where I made some ad changes. Well, John's first acquisition was a really good one too. He bought a website that had good, strong traffic, but it was severely under monetized. And I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was making between $200 and $400 a month when he bought it. But after those small changes, putting ads on the page and rearranging some things, he was generating $1,500 a month. So that was a very substantial increase, and it's really turned out to be a great asset purchase for John. So I promised that I would go through step by step the how-to, and that's what I want to do now, Dave.
Can I ask you a question before you do that?
Please.
So one of our viewers here has asked, what's the value of a website based on the monthly income? Do you have any kind of, I mean, you paid $400 for a site that's losing $2 a month. So do you have any kind of multiple that you work with, or is it basically a negotiation every time?
Well, I actually have a evaluation process, and it includes the risk of the website and the multiples that you should be willing to pay for it. And it also includes any kind of improvement ideas that you've spotted before you buy the website. And actually, let me talk about that briefly as I go through the step-by-step process.
Okay, good, good.
What I'm going to try to do is shift my screen here if I can. Just a moment, and we'll go to a different screen so that I can talk you through the steps. See, what are you seeing here, Dave?
Yep.
Are you seeing Own the Web course map?
I am.
All right, and hopefully everyone else is as well. The first step in this kind of acquisition, let me just say, the good thing is anybody who's bought real estate, a car, a mobile phone, or even a camera, something like that, it goes through a very similar process. So the process is familiar to everybody, but the first step is really planning. You want to understand, what is your purpose in buying a website? Are you looking for a job? Are you looking for a part-time job, or you just have some money you want to get a good return on? So you need to think through what your purpose is, and maybe it's educational. You want to get into the website business and kind of teach yourself using a real model. So that's the first step, is to do a little bit of planning, and after you've done that planning, the second step is very natural, and that is to just jump in and begin your search. And what you'll do is you'll go to website brokerages and marketplaces, and you'll start reviewing opportunities. And as you review them and read the listings in detail, you'll begin to educate yourself on how businesses make money online. And then you'll refine your search. You'll try to narrow it down. You'll have some search criteria. You in your planning process, you would have set a budget, maybe thought about niches and areas that you knew something about a business model, perhaps, or if you like to sell physical products, you might have said, hey, I want to get into e-commerce sites or something like that. So you'll narrow down your search, and then inevitably, as you narrow down your search, you'll start to find sites and opportunities that meet your criteria. You'll like the price, maybe you'll like the amount of income that the site is bringing in, and you may be really interested in the content and the way that the site makes business. So you kind of narrow down your search, and then you'll say, hey, this is an interesting enough opportunity that I want to spend some time evaluating it. And the first thing that you'll do is start looking at the revenue and asking these questions. You know, is the revenue really what the seller says it is? And you know, you'll use some tools to evaluate, you know, is he telling the truth or not? And finding the right documents to look at and so on. You'll want to ask the same questions about traffic. For a website business, traffic is customers. just like if you had a store in the mall and people come in and they buy shoes, those are customers, and customers who come in and look around and walk out and don't buy shoes, those are customers too, and those are traffic, and the websites have the same kind of traffic. They have buyers and lookers, and you just want to, when you start evaluating the traffic of a website, you want to ask the same questions. Is this traffic real? Is it sustainable? Is it likely to continue? Can I increase it? And then there are a number of other things that you may want to look at, depending on what the website is, who the seller is, why they're selling it, that they make sure that they own it. If there's external dependencies, like if there is a supplier of some product or something like that, then you'll want to check into those things. And after you've done those checks, and your excitement will grow. And I know this. Oh, the other check that I usually do is I ask my wife. And my wife always asks me, she says the same thing every time. Well, if it's so great, how come he's selling it? And I give her the same answer. I said, I don't know really why he's selling it. All I know is why he says he's selling it. But it's a useful exercise to go through and ask people, why are you selling? Because a lot of these things are just about personal integrity, and you can get a lot of information from just asking that question from a seller to see how they respond. So your excitement grows. You've done the checks and everything looks good, and then the question comes that you asked, Dave, and that is, well, how much should I pay for this thing? What's really the right price? And the model that I have developed over time, and frankly I've changed it as I've learned and made some errors, is the very first thing is to categorize the opportunity based on risk. I try to put things into 3 buckets: a low, medium, and high risk category. Now, if you think the site has high risk, it doesn't mean you don't necessarily buy it. A lot of people just back out if they think it's risky. But not me. I'm willing to buy a higher risk site as long as the price is right. So I'm not going to pay as much for a high risk site as I will for a low risk site. But I want to know that. I want to know that it's risky. Well, how is it risky? And of course, if we had all night to talk through all of this, I could give you a lot more detail. But generally, sites that are dependent on behemoths like Google and Facebook and Yahoo, who change their rules and ideas all the time, if the traffic is completely dependent on them, then the site is probably a little bit more risky, because you can lose customers very quickly if you're dependent on some of those guys. If traffic is dependent on subscriptions, repeat customers, email marketing, those kind of things, then you probably have a more stable site, and so that would put you in a different risk category. And I don't have the table in front of me, but essentially, once you've identified the risk, higher risk sites, you're going to pay a lower multiple of monthly earnings, and lower risk sites, you're going to pay higher multiples of monthly earnings. So the monthly earning component is really important. Now, in that little site that I bought, obviously, a multiple of negative $2 per month is not very much. So in fact, the bigger the number gets, the less you're willing to pay on that one. But that's why the calculation for how you evaluate the site has to include what you think the potential monthly income is, not what the current monthly income is. And in that case, I thought the potential was higher. In some cases, we think it's lower, because we may see not just opportunity but risk there. So that's all part of just deciding what you're going to pay, and then you're making an offer to the seller. And if it's in an auction format, then you're making a bid. If it's in a private format, then you're just coming up with a price and presenting that to the seller. And there are ways to be the best buyer, and one of those ways is to be the nicest buyer. A lot of times, the nicest buyer actually wins the deal, even if there's a buyer who is willing to spend more than you. If you make that relationship with a seller early on and do it right, you're likely to walk away with the asset. So once you agree on a price with the seller and other terms of the transaction, then we recommend that you use an escrow process. if you've ever bought a house, escrow is just a safe place to keep the money till all the documents change hands, and in this case, the website business changes hands, and the escrow party holds the money so that the buyer and the seller are both safe, and that they agree. There's an inspection period where they agree that they got everything they expected to get, and then the money gets released. So there's about a 5-step process there, but escrow is really nice. It works really well. It doesn't cost very much.
You said something earlier that caught my attention because that was something I hadn't really thought about, and that was, how do you ensure that somebody actually owns a website?
Yeah, and you know, you're familiar with Whois, which is the domain registry that keeps track of the names of people, and that is one tool to do that. Another one is, as you discuss with sellers, you know, the revenue and traffic and so on. One of the things that we encourage you to do is do a screen share with them and let them show you their accounts and the back end of the insides of websites. So those kind of things can really build your confidence that they're the owner and controller of the yeah. And those are some of the things that we teach more specifically. And then you know, some websites are really simple, like the case study that I showed you. The transfer process for that from their server to my server was less than 20 minutes. And there may be some web businesses that are more complicated, have more pieces or something, but usually the movement of a website from seller to buyer is not too difficult, and can be outsourced to somebody for just a few dollars, because a lot of it's a technical process. So that's the next natural step, and then when that happens, then you're the owner. You know, it's your brand new baby, and the very first thing that I encourage people to do in this step number 6 under managing your website is to optimize the revenue. You know, if you've decided that if you bought the thing because you knew you could tweak the prices a bit and probably have more sales, then that's what you're going to do, or move the ads around, or any of those 54 ideas and thousands more that you could have had when you were evaluating the website. So that's the very first thing, is to go ahead and turn that on and ramp the revenue up. No sense waiting on those things. And then there are a number of things you want to do to just manage the website in a good way operationally, and that includes having traffic tracking software like Google Analytics or other software, if it's not already on there, to put that on there so you can begin just seeing who the visitors are to your new website and what their behavior is when they get there and they're buying and so on. And then, you know, depending on how big the website is, you may want to have a spreadsheet or even other software to track the financials. I do even very sophisticated businesses with just a spreadsheet, just so I know what the revenue and expenses are. So that's the process, top to bottom. And Dave, if you can take over the screen, I'm going to flip back to my other slides.
Okay.
So let me see if I can figure out how to do that.
So if we talk about passive income, which I love to talk about, and I love to earn passive income, this looks like like I was talking to my landlord a little bit about real estate as passive income, and this is almost like buying real estate, isn't it? I mean, it's really a pretty cool thing that you can buy and collect on a monthly basis, but the collection seems to be a lot easier than it would be if you had real estate. I mean, it's just money coming to you from Google with AdSense or other monetization. Now, you also talked about email marketing or collecting email as an asset. So it seems like you would have to have a lot of different management systems in place if you own a lot of websites. I'm sure that you don't have, well, you might have a nursing list as well as a construction list or a whatever, and you would service all of those via different email lists, right?
Well, both of those are excellent points, and to the real estate point, I found that actually about, it may be as much as 30% of the people who are expressing serious interest in getting into this are in the real estate business. They were either real estate agents or mortgage brokers or in some other way been involved in real estate. And I think it's because they're really familiar with making the deal, finding a property, buying it, running it. So it is there is a lot of parallel to that. And even if they're not technical people, it doesn't scare them off. They like this idea of online real estate.
Mm-hmm.
To your second point, and that is, what kind of tool sets and skills and infrastructure and all of those kinds of things do you need if you have multiple websites? And I understand the source of that question, because you're the NAMS guy and you've got your fingers in a million different things, and you need a lot of systems to run the organization you've got. But it really depends on who you are and how you're approaching this. If you're just someone who's who wants to buy a single website, and either that's your entree or that's just all you're interested in, then you have a very, very different set of requirements for tools and systems than you might if you tried to buy a whole bunch of different kinds of websites that had diverse requirements. So in fact, this goes to a point I didn't dwell on very much, but it's a lot easier to buy into an existing online business because you didn't have to design it, you didn't have to build a product, you didn't have to attract customers, you didn't have to learn how to deliver a service or product, you didn't have to market it. All of those kinds of skills somebody had to do when they created this website business before they sold it to you. But the beauty about buying into a working business model like that is that you didn't have to do all that, and you don't have to learn all that or be the expert in all of that. What you need to do is you can get the business running, and then assess what are the weak points in the business. If the weak point is design, or if the weak point is delivering the product or attracting the customers, then you can just focus on just that little piece and learn what you need to learn about that. So that's another reason that I like learning from a working model rather than learning from building from scratch.
Okay, so I've got another question about investing, because when I first had I had a stock photography agency, and I had a 10% investor in that, somebody who was willing to chunk money in and some upfront money, and he was a angel investor, and he went around from business to business where he would invest in different businesses. And what he told me was that if he had 2 out of 10 that hit a home run, that's what he was looking for. If he had 5 or 6 of those that were, mediocre, profitable but mediocre, that was fine. And he expected 5 or 6 or 3 or 4 or whatever's left to be failures. So how do you as an investor manage that expectation with websites, and is the risk as large there the way you're doing it?
Well, there is a risk, and I don't know exactly whether it follows that curve or not, whether it's 20% on each end of the curve, either wild successes or miserable failures. But there is a curve like that, and quite frankly, when I've bought my first few websites, I did it completely without assistance, and I didn't have anybody really teach me anything about how much to pay or what's risky, what's not risky, all that stuff. And frankly, I had 2 or 3 pretty miserable failures. Hence my wife's skepticism. It's not all just like her genetics. Some of it's based on our shared experiences. Like, you can't fool your wife, man. I mean, it's not like somebody else you can maybe fool, but your wife, she knows where the money went and when it went. That's right. But yeah, so there's definitely some risk, and there definitely you're going to find winners. But you know this from being an entrepreneur yourself. Entrepreneurs, they may have 20% winners or 40% winners or whatever, or even 5%, but they run with the winners, and that's why it's not bad to lose 95% of the time, because you grasp onto that 5% and just run with it for all it's worth. And what that means in the website buying business is you find more websites like that one. You learn what works, or you build on the one that you bought, or you create one that's like the one you bought. I've done some of that too.
And you've obviously learned how to tweak them so that it actually your risk is lower on the purchases.
Definitely, I have learned that. But you know what I'm learning is that it's not rocket science. It's just a matter of getting into a particular niche area or particular business model like advertising and just kind of seeing what works.
Okay. Okay. Didn't mean to hold you up.
Yeah, no problem. Well, you know, that's the main content that I wanted to go through today. You know, we saw from the case study and some other comments how you actually can yield a very fast income stream fast because, you know, you and I mean, David, you could go out and buy a website in the next 3 days. So, you know, there is no other internet marketing system. There's no other process that you could possibly use to start a business and have an income stream in a few days. But buying a business is one of the ones that you could do that. And it's sure, we can use that word sure and certain only because if you buy a business that has that has customers and an income stream, it's going to continue to have. Whereas if you start a business from scratch, you never know if you're going to get the very first dollar or the very first customer if you start from scratch. And that's why I have no apprehension in saying it's fast and sure. Now, does that mean it has no risk? No. Does that mean it might take longer if if you really want to, if you're picky about what you're looking for and all that? Of course not. But when we compare it to every other method, it's fast and it's sure. So we also listed maybe more than you cared to hear of those 54 items that you can improve profitability with that are gems in the rough, basically, for helping you identify a good buying opportunity. And then we went through the step-by-step process for buying a website. So, you know, you've got, if nothing else, you're ahead of most of the world. And then now you know why would anybody buy a website, and even that websites can be bought. Most of the people I talk to, you know, aren't even aware that such a thing exists. So we're all ahead of that curve at this point.
I also bet that by going through this process with you, that you would learn how to sell your websites if you wanted to as well.
Yeah, and you know what? I am primarily a buyer. I certainly sell, and there are situations where I want to sell. All right, very good. Well, we've reviewed why people might want to buy websites, and as you've been listening, you know, if you're new, looking for a way into the internet marketing world or the online business world, if you're experienced and you've kind of struggled by trying affiliate marketing or trying email marketing or other kinds of marketing, and it's not working out, then you may have sensed that this might be something that would work for you. And in fact, it might be. And you know, and it might not be. It might not. It's not the thing for every single person, but it may very well be for you. As I go to conferences and I talk to people and they tell me their ideas about blogging or other kinds of ideas, you know, a lot of times the answer for them is this. They would be much better off looking for websites that already exist in their niche than starting from scratch, as many of them have been intending to do. And because it might be right for you, I mean, my wish is sincerely is that you would take action, and I want you to get started quickly. Now, you know, I mentioned that I got started on my own. I didn't really have anybody to help me through the process. I made more mistakes. I mean, I tried very hard to be conservative and analytical about my purchases, but there's just things that I didn't know. So, you know, there are ways you can do this with confidence and do it a little more quickly and limit your risk. And that's why I'm very happy to introduce this On the Web course to you. And you saw that as we talked through it, I decided it was easier to teach from that step-by-step content in the course than putting slides together, simply because you know, that's the format that you learn this process in. So what you were looking at was the On the Web course earlier in the presentation. So I'm just going to go quickly through what the modules were there. And the first one was finding the winners. Where do you look for websites to buy? And in the course, I give you my list of places that I go, the marketplaces and brokerages that I personally use to find websites. And in fact, we talk about websites that aren't for sale and approaching people who might be willing to sell a web business, even if they hadn't really thought about selling it. And then in the second module, we look at all the primary business models that online businesses today use to earn an income. And I call it Renaissance investor just because it's good over time if you're going to buy multiple websites to have an understanding generally at least of how each of the different kinds, e-commerce, service, leads, software, all of those kinds of businesses make their money online. And then sizing it up. This is where we looked at evaluation of things like revenue and traffic and ownership and link profiles and those kinds of things. In this module, we talk about how do you evaluate it, and really, you're out there to do two things: avoid the scams, and then identify opportunities that are good. You know, identify little businesses that you think you could pick up and really run with. And part of that is asking good questions. So there's a lot of questions that I go through in the modules about evaluating websites to buy. And how much should you pay? The model that I talked about with David that included risk and income streams, all of that's in the course, and how you, once you've decided on a price to pay, you know, some techniques to make sure that you can win the auction, assuming that they'll sell it to you for what you want to pay. And then the final inspection period, the transfer, we talked about escrow, and how escrow works is completely covered in Module 5. And after you own it, the very first things that you want to do to get started on the right foot, maximize the profit, and go after you know, a controlled business so that it can be passive and you don't have to pay much attention to it. And then there's a lot of other stuff that I really didn't show you, like what about international domains, you know, EU domains or Australian domains, and do you need an LLC or not? And then some case studies over the shoulder where you look at my analysis of revenue streams and traffic and those kinds of things, just to give you a feel for what it's like hands-on when you're looking at a website opportunity. So what's the investment in my course? Well, it's $497, but on this Hangout, it's $297. All right, and here is the link that you would want to use if you're interested in purchasing this course. nams.ws/own the web, and own the web is the name of the course itself, and you're only going to get that $200 off savings if you use this link. So you can type that in.
By the way, in the chat, so it's there.
Okay, so folks, if you're on live right now, then you can click that link that David posted. If not, then you're going to want to just type that in, and it's really short. So let me just tell you, besides that, there are some other bonuses. One of them is, David actually alluded to this idea of what about selling? Well, I've done a lot of selling, and I wrote a very extensive module on how to write the best sales pitch for selling a website. And if you have some selling experience, like in the affiliate arena or something like that, then that will serve you well. But selling a website is a little bit different. People who are buying a website business, you know, they're not into the hype, so your sales pitch is not going to have great big red flashing letters. So there's some specific techniques that we talk about and how to sell, and you'll want to see that. What if you want a really low cost website? What if you don't have very much money? Well, there's a whole bonus module just on that, and it includes specific marketplaces that offer lower cost websites and some other strategies to find lower cost websites if you don't have money right now. The inner circle is maybe one of the most important bonuses that's part of this course, and that's a private face group. It's a closed face group with other website investors, some very experienced, myself and others included, and then other people just getting into buying websites, all interacting and asking questions there. And a technical training library. Now, it is not my intent to make technical weenies out of people who buy this course. And in fact, passive income investors have no interest in becoming technical, and I don't want to make them technical, but nevertheless, there are a ton of videos, and I think I'll shift over to the course site in just a few minutes and just show you what's here. But there's a very big library, anything that you might run into related to WordPress or graphics or some of the things that sometimes come up. So that's what this is all about. And for this Hangout, the price is $297. get there at this link, NAMSWS/on the web. This guy Ian, another one of my students, he actually is a repeat customer. He went through a Google News course that I built after buying a successful Google News site and then learning how to build those sites, and then also on the web. And the great thing about Ian is he doesn't just buy a course. He actually takes the steps and gets results by going through and following through. So I threw this slide in frequently asked questions, and I think this first question probably hasn't come up in our Hangout yet, but can someone completely new to operating websites do this? And the answer is they can. Now, clearly, they're going to run into terminology and tools and principles that maybe they haven't ever experienced, even if if they have some experience in business or elsewhere or no experience in business. They're going to run into some things that need to be learned. But the thing is, when you compare this with any other way to get into the business, at least you'll be buying something that already is up and working, and you don't have to learn all the skills. So, and you can learn them more at your own pace, because the business will continue to make money while you investigate a particular area. And how much money do I need? Well, I showed you the $400 investment. You can actually buy sites for $100 or less. Now, you're not going to obviously, the less you pay, the less traffic there's going to be, the less revenue the sites are going to make, and so on. But literally, you can buy websites for just a few dollars or for tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So there's the whole gamut there, the whole range. And just real quick review, there's 32 videos. In fact, there's probably closer to 40 videos. There's case studies, the step-by-step process, and we tried to make the material as usable, consumable, at your own pace as we possibly could. And then all of the bonuses. Now this bonus is, I didn't mention it above, but this is the NAMS only bonus. And for anyone who buys through this link, I'm going to provide 30 minutes of consultation. And you use that when you very first start the course, and just talk me through where you are in your online initiatives, and if you're just starting and you need some guidance on where to start. Or you could use this a little later if you like, where you've gone through some of the course, you've actually identified a website that you want to buy, and you just want another set of eyes to just look over your shoulder and say, hey, did you think about this, or is this a good deal, or am I pricing this right, or whatever. So this is, believe me, this is an important bonus, and
that's pretty impressive to be able to walk people through that one. That's a huge bonus.
Yeah, and it's the most fun one for me as well. I love to help people do this. It's great. And then just the other bonuses to recap: how to sell things, find low-cost websites, the inner circle, where that's your other resource for asking questions. Right. If you're shy and you don't want to talk to me, if you think I'm scary in my Dave Perdue hair dress, then you don't have to talk. It's just you can if you want. And then the technical resource library.
That's pretty outstanding.
So that's
great price, Jeff.
Yeah. Now, should I shift over and show the course area again, David, or are we?
Sure, that'd be great. We'd love to see that.
Okay, excellent. Let me do that.
The thing about the course that you're offering, how many modules did you say it was?
I think there are actually 32 core videos.
Okay.
Let's see. Where are we? Here we go.
And then do they have to take them in linear fashion, or is it kind of an in and out as you need it?
Definitely in and out as you need it. I mean, it follows the process of search, find, evaluate, buy, generally speaking. So most people will watch them as they're doing that thing. Okay. Some people watch all of them and then go back and watch the ones that they think they need.
So not only is it a course, it's a resource, so that you can have a searchable resource.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And
Okay.
are you guys able to see the screen now?
See it just fine.
Okay, so we went through the main course map, and behind each of these links are videos, and sometimes multiple videos behind each link. And here on this page is just different formats of the material if you just want to listen or you want to watch, or if you're not a watcher, you'd rather read the transcript, that's available as well. Along with each video, there's also an outline so you can skip forward in the video to the parts that you either heard before or skip the parts you already know. I mentioned one of the bonuses is technical training, and here is just this really lengthy list of the kinds of videos that are available in each of these categories. Domain management, that's just buying the URL name and everything that you would want to know about that, and lots of good info, setting up WordPress. And then if you buy a site that has an email list or you want to add a list to the site, here's some good info on Aweber. And editing HTML, generally you don't have to ever know HTML, but if you ever wanted to make some tweaks, there's some good resources here in teaching you how to do that. And then graphics, like resizing images that you might upload to your site and those kind of things. And then FTP is just the fancy word for how you copy something from your PC up to your server and how to use that. So that's just kind of a nice bonus there. And then the inner circle is coming up here, but it's a Facebook group. So there's the link here, and then there's an email list so that you get notified about anything that's special that might be going in the inner circle, like hangouts that I might do to give you some extra resources or kind of talk about trends in the industry and those kind of things. Then at the bottom of every page, there's a quick list of all of the modules that you can go to. Here are a few of the bonus ones I mentioned: the buying low-cost websites, buying international domains, and then this one I had never mentioned, but how to list on Flippa if you wanted to use Flippa as your main buying and selling resource, specifically the fields that you want to fill out there, and then to flip or not to flip. One of my English friends said they don't use the word flip in England, but I don't know if he just didn't know it himself or they don't really know it, but we use the word flip to mean buy something and then sell it. And,
right.
And so here's the explanation on should you buy and sell. Some people do that, and they like the buying, the selling, the maintaining, and they make their money, based on the difference of what they paid and what they sold, and that means that they got to keep buying and selling if they're going to make money, because that's the life of a flipper. Then how to sell. Another one I'll mention over here in this list of extra credit is called getting help. At some point along the way, everybody in their business career needs to do something that they don't know how to do themselves, and this video is all about outsourcing. And outsourcing is amazingly easy. For those who've never done it, have never hired a freelancer to just go do a task, their eyes just are open really wide when they find out how little it costs and often how well it's done and how quickly. So this is a video that tells you where to do that, how to do that, and to make it go good the first time.
I love the business models sections that you have there too, showing people how to make money with these sites in different areas. Different ways.
I felt like that was important for the average person. They may or may not have even heard of all of these areas, and if they have, it just it's extra credit. So if you know something about advertising, you don't have to watch it. But each one of those kind of goes into some detail on how a website that makes its money primarily from advertising or primarily from affiliate marketing, how they work and what tools they use and who they target customer-wise and where the money comes from and how they're paid and those kind of things in each of those areas. So, so that's could be really good information for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, this looks great. I'm really tickled that you're offering this to our group because it's an area that we have not covered at all, and it's obviously a big piece of the passive income, making money online kind of world that we want to focus on a lot more. So people need to go to nams.ws/own-the-web. That link is here. It is nams.ws/own-the-web, OWNTHE web, WEB. So they need to take a look at that. Is there anything else that we need to cover, Jeff, before you go?
I think we hit the high points for sure.
Well, I really appreciate you doing this for us, and I hope people will take advantage of your course, because I think if you, well, I sent out an email today that said this is the fastest way to start making money online. There's no better way than to buy into a business if you want to start making money online. That's the reason franchises do so well. You go to a franchise model where McDonald's has got the lock on the fast food industry, and you buy at a McDonald's franchise, you don't have to do anything except follow the instructions. What you're doing here is showing people how to buy into something that's already working and just follow the instructions. So I hope they will take advantage of this course. I think I'm going to take advantage of this course because it can become a piece of my passive income model, and that's what I'm all about. So that's what we're doing. Again, NAMS.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Say it, Jeff.
David, I like probably a lot of people looked into buying a franchise at one time, and even recently I looked at Taco Bell. Can you believe to buy a Taco Bell franchise you have to be worth $1.5 million and $750,000 of that has to be liquid? And this is a Taco Bell we're talking about. That's a lot of tacos.
That's a lot of tacos.
So buying into a website is much more
easier. So I wanted to just say thank you again, and you folks need to go to nams.ws/own-the-web and take a look at that course. And Jeff, how long will that be up for the NAM special?
I think that we'll probably do it for Sunday if that makes sense.
I'm going to ask you to keep it up till Wednesday next week.
Okay, works.
And we will do that, and that way anybody watching the replay will get that as well. Okay. Thank you very much, Jeff. Glad you're here, man. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you about NAMS coming up.
Very good, David. I appreciate it too.
Thank you,
Have a great week. And thanks to everyone who's listening.
Bye-bye.